Good morning to all my dear students. This is Kaveri teacher, and in today's lecture we have to discuss on the autumn poem. In last lecture we have seen the poem and the poem's line by line explanation. In today's lecture we have to see some warming up questions, then English workshop as well as the poetic devices from the poem. So let's start the poem. Here is a poem Autumn. In the last lecture, we have seen the meaning. I just read the poem now. The autumn comes a maiden fair in slenderness and grace, with nodding nice streams in her hair and lilies in her face. In flowers of grasses she is clad, and as she moves along, birds greet her with their cooing glad, like a bracelet's tinkling song. A diadem adorns the night of multitudinous stars. Her silken robe is white moonlight set free from cloudy bars, and on her face the radiant moon bewitching smiles are shown. She seems a slender maid who soon will be a woman grown. So this is poem, and this beautiful poem we all know that it is written by the uh, Kalidas, who is called as a Mahakavi, called as Mahakavi, and this Sanskrit poem of Kalidasa, which is translated by after author W. Ryder, and then it is translated in English. So let's see the paraphrase of the poem, uh, the critical things of the poem. Autumn was written by Kalidas. It was translated into English by Arthur W. Ryder. So in the poem, the poet considers Autumn to be a young, beautiful girl. Yes, student, in last lecture we have seen that Kalidasa has written this poem in Sanskrit language, and after the California's University's professor of Sanskrit means William Ryder, Professor William Ryder had translated this poem into English, and in that poem there are the original three stanzas in the poem, but for us for ninth standard we have given only two stanzas for this year. So in this poem, the poet directly compare the autumn season to a beautiful and young girl, and the autumn season called as a beautiful girl. The season of the autumn arise like a graceful, beautiful and slender maiden. uh, this time poet want to say us that poet describes here that autumn seasons also arise like a woman, or arise like a young or beautiful girl, like a graceful things, happiest thing. It has a charm. Then beautiful and slender maiden. Slender means slim. The beautiful lilies and the tender rice stems seem to adorn her hair, and beautiful autumn has adorned her hair by the rice stems like a flowers, like a beautiful girl who decorated her hair by the by wearing the rose or flowers in her hair, like the same thing. The autumn season also wear the beautiful flowers of lilies, and it looks like a hairy rose. The seems She seems to have been dressed in a green grass and its flower. It looks like a green grass. The dress which has wear by the autumn season, which is made by a green grass, and it's also decorated with a beautiful flowers of multicolor. Means there are a lots of flower which are we can see here in the autumn season. The beautiness of the flowers spreading everywhere. So the poet directly saying that this is like a dress of the autumn season, which are made of the grass, green grass, and which are decorated by the flowers. Her swaying movements and graceful walk are welcomed by birds and their happy cooing, which sound like a tinkling song of a spirit bracelet. Now, in the second stanza, poet explain us that the birds, the animals, and every nature is becoming happy on the arrival of the autumn season. And the birds started singing, dancing, and by making sound, they are welcome. They are greeting to the autumn season of her welcome, like a beautiful girl, how she walks along. That time autumn season also, while it's walking alone, that time all the birds singing, all the birds making a melodious sound, and they are becoming happy after the welcome of the after the arriving of the autumn season, which sounds like a tinkling song of a sweet bracelet. Now, the sound which is made by the birds, which is made by the birds for welcoming, for greeting to the autumn girl, the autumn girl's welcome, which is made by the sound, it's hearing like a tinkling song. Tinkling song means melodious or sweet song, which is made with sweet ring, which is made by anything. But here in the poem, poet describe this sweet song like a tinkling song of a sweet bracelet, means like a bangle sound, which is made, which is very delicate and beautiful, and which is very good to hear to our ear. As the same way poet is described this, that the melodious sound which is made by the uh, birds, it's a like a tinkling song of the sweet bracelet. So this is the daytime, the all scenery, all pictures, all description which is given to us in a first stanza. It's all about the daytiming, day beauty of the autumn season. Now, while the girl, while the autumn wear wear the crown at the night time. That time it looks very beautiful, way more beautiful than daytime. And what is the beauty of the night time? Just see here. Her swaying movements and graceful walk are welcomed by its birds and their happy cooing, which sounds like a tinkling song. At the night time, a beautiful crown. Now at the night time, the autumn season has wear a crown. And what the crown made by? The crown is made by the uncountable stars, which is decorated by uncountable star, which is very beautiful, attractive, and as well as it's a broad. So the beautiful crown which is made by the stars seems to adorn this beautiful lady. And this crown is made by the stars, it's very beautiful, and it is showing the more beauty of that lady, of that girl. Listen student, here in a first stanza poet explains us that autumn season is a girl which is slim, beautiful, as well as she is a unmarried girl, means she is not matured. But at the last, in second stanza, we have to see that the poet explains us that the beautiful lady means the girl who was beautiful, who was unmarried. Soon her robe of silk is made of beautiful white moonlight. That time the dress of her, which is at the daytime, the poet explained us here, at the daytime dress like a green grass, and which is decorated by the flowers. But at the night time, they poet explain us that the dress, which the gown, which is the clothes which is wear by the girl, the autumn, it's made by the silk. Why the poet word using here word silk gown? Because at the night time the brightness of the moon, the beam of the moon was spreading on that girl on that autumn season, and so it looks like that the autumn season has wear the silken robe, the silken gown has wear by the autumn season. So this beautiful picture is because of the moonlight and the white moonlight or the brightness of the moon, and which was spread on the autumn's face. So after the moon, after this deed of the moon, after the moonlight, after the white moonlight, the autumn girl make a bewitching smile on her face. What mean by bewitching? So bewitching means attractive or a enchanting a smile, which is made by the autumn girl, the autumn season, or the girl. And due to that reason, the smile, the heartbreaking smile, we can call it heartbreaking smile, attract every person, everyone. So everyone looks at the that girl because of her bewitching smile, her enchanting smile. So will soon grow up to the an ever more beautiful woman. So she will be soon turn as a grown up. So everything which is made, which is born, which is birth, everyone will turn into maturity, everyone will turn old. So that thus the poet has explained very good, and he is compared the autumn season to a beautiful girl we have seen here. Now we have to see here a meaning of a Hindi of this poem. like a पतझड़ ऋतु एक पतली और सुंदर अविवाहित युवती की तरह आती है, और जैसे ही उसने बालों में अपने चावल के तने और चेहरे पर लिली लगा ली है. सो दिस इज द फर्स्ट स्टैंजा. इन सेकेंड स्टैंजा, वह घास के फूलों से सजी हुई है, जैसे जैसे वह आगे जाती है पक्षी पक्षी खुशी खुशी उसका स्वागत करते हैं. पक्षियों की आवाज एक ब्रेसलेट की खनक की आवाज की तरह लगती है. So student, this is only giving you for the deep meaning, to understand the deep meaning in Hindi in your local language. That's why I have given here the Hindi's explanation of this lines. पतझड़ में रात के दौरान आसमान अगणित सितारों का मुकुट पहने दिखाई देता है, जैसे कि सफेद चांदनी रात के कपड़े उसने पहने हुए हैं. जो बादलों से दाग जा चुके हैं ऐसा प्रतीत होता है. And due to that clear sound, it looks like a beautiful girl which is wearing silken robe gown. उसका चेहरा चमकदार चांद की तरह चमकता है, वो मुस्कुराते हुए प्रसन्न दिखाई देती है. एक पतली अविवाहित लड़की की दिखती है, और जल्द ही she will be become will be a woman grown. So she will be turned in a maturity. She will be a become a woman to a girl. So वो जल्द ही एक महिला हो जाएगी ऐसा प्रतीत होता है. So let's see some warming up questions by the poem which is given to us. First question is, what changes do you see in the nature in each of the following season? A few sentences are given below as examples. Use these and your own describe a seasons appropriately. Now, the question is like that. The changes we have to write here by the season which is given to us. First one, we have to see this. Changes are given to here us here, like a new grass sprout, tender leaves shoot out on the plants of trees, migratory birds return, the sun shines brighter than before, we see mist in the morning. These are sudden showers and hailstorms, and trees blossom. These are some events, these are some uh, descriptions given to us. And now we have to bifurcate it by the season. Firstly, we have to see what changes had made by the winter season in first question. So let's see what changes had made by winter season. The answer is like that. Migratory birds return. The birds who had migrated, it has returned in the winter season. Second, we see fog in the morning. At the winter season, in the winter season, we can easily see the fog everywhere, and it looks like very beautiful to our eye. Plugging temperature and icing weather. The weather is changed by the winter season. Everywhere we can see the small icebergs. Time for animal hibernation. So these all changes had made by the winter season. Now secondly, we have to see about the summer season, what changes had made by the summer season. And just see what nature had changed. Sun shines brighter than before. Yes, of course, sun is shining brighter because of the clear cloud or clear sky. The sun shines brighter or more bright. So second one is birds nests and raises their young in a summer. Third one, summer is the perennial free fruiting season. Perennial free fruiting season. Summer जो है, it's a fruiting season. Fourth one is summer is a great time for insect activity. So these all changes which is made by the summer season. Now we have to see about our favorite season, everyone's favorite season, and which is monsoon or a rainy season we called it. So let's see what changes the summer or sorry, the monsoon season has made. There are sudden showers of and hailstorms. Then tree blossoms in the monsoon season in a rainy season. Third one is a tender leaves shoot or out on the plants of trees. Some small plants or some small leaves arise on the trees. The next one is new grass sprouts. So these all changes had made by the monsoon season. We can see in the nature these all things which changes by the seasons. So second question is, what changes do we see in the life of human beings when the season change? Write the references to their first one. We have to write here clothes, about the clothes, what changes we have made. Then second one we have to write here about diet, and third one is about the celebration, how we celebration each season. Students, what are the seasons in our life? I told you that the seasons are very important in our life, as well as every life has its own season. As the same way, we have make some changes. We have made some changes by our clothes, and these changes are by our clothes, by our diet means food, and our celebrations, our mood, our feelings. So each and everything has changed by the seasonal change. So let's see, firstly we have to see how we have to change our clothes by the season. We see a lot of changes in nature when the season comes, when the season change. In every season we have to change our clothes style, our dress style. Like a season change, we have make change some changes. Leaves too, clothes are like during the summer, during the summer season we wear cotton garments so they can soak the sweat and make the summer heat bearable. So you all know that in summer season the climate increase, and due to that heat, due to that heavy temperature, due to decreasing increasing of temperature, we are wearing the cotton clothes, cotton garments, which is easy, which is comfortable for us for soaking the sweat for us, and making comfortable and making bearable this heat of the summer season. In monsoon season, we wear clothes made from synthetic material. Why this material we use in a monsoon season? Because as they do not soak water and dry up quickly. Yes, of course, the material like a synthetic, we can easily wear it, we can easily wet up it, dry it, and that's why we are wearing synthetic clothes at the winter monsoon season or a rainy season. And at last, in the winter season, we have wear woolen sweaters and overcoats, keep up warm in the winter season. The temperature of the nature, temperature of the climate is decreased, means it is a cool everywhere in the winter season, and that's why we are using the woolen sweaters or overcoats for the keeping warm to us, for keeping warm to our body in a winter season. So this is the change which are made in our clothes by the seasonal change. Now we have to see what diet plan we have following in the seasonal change. So second one is diet. During summer, one must have cooling food that will balance our diet. Yes, we have seen that the hot temperature, hot climate of summer season will be damaged to us, will be harmful for us. So due to that reason, we are using cooling food for us, for making a balance in our body temperature, and keep our energy. So keep our energy level stable and keep us well hydrated. So we have to drink more water in the summer season. Whereas secondly, in winter season and monsoon season, one should have healthy food. We are eating healthy food in winter and monsoon season. Avoid overeating, as one may have more food craving during the winter. One can rely on fruits, oats and soups. Yes, some people are using only fruits or oats and soups in the winter season, and some are taking heavy foods in the uh, winter and rainy season. So this is the diet plan we are following in the by the season. The last one is how we feel, how our mood had changed, how changed by the season. So student, let's see, in summer season there are some festivals like a Buddha Purnima, Baisakhi, Ram Navami and Holi. These all festivals comes in the uh, summer season, and we celebrated it very enthusiasm, very joyful moment. In winter season there is a Christmas, Lori, Pongal and Diwali. So we are taking a food as the festival, as the season. And last one is in monsoon season, there is a Ganesh Utsav, which is very favorite season for all of us. Then Janmashtami, Raksha Bandhan and Onam, these all festival we are celebrated, we are celebration these all festivals during the seasons change. Now student, second question, guess what is the personified and fill in the gaps. Choose from the brackets. The options are given here. First one is sun, second one is alarm, third one is a bird, fourth one is a car, next one is wine or wind, next one is stars and machines. So we have given here some lines, and the line is incomplete. The gap is showing us here, and we have to complete the appropriate word here by using by appropriate word, and you have to complete the sentence. So first sentence is, the wavy dash dash was also petrol hungry. The second one is that the playful dash whistled among the trees. Next, C, the annoying dash dash stream at 5 a.m. Next, the naughty dash dash winked at me from above. E, the rising dash dash stretched its arms. Next one, the cheerful dash dash sang as it is perched on a tree. And the last one, the tireless dash dash hummed as it worked hard. So these are some sentences, and we have to fill up the gaps and personified. What the personified things poet has given to us, we have to complete it. Just see the answer here. The very car was also petrol hungry. The second one, the playful wind whistled among the trees. The next one, the annoying alarm steam at 5 a.m. The stars winkle at me from above. The next one is, the rising sun stretched its arm. The next one, the cheerful bird sang as it paused on the trees. And the last, the tireless machine hummed as work had. So this is the answer of this question, and the appropriate personified things we have filled up here. So we have filled this gap here, and the sentence are very meaningful here. Now we have to see some poetic devices which are using in the poem. We called it figure of speech from the poem. So the autumn comes a maiden far. In this line, the poem has used metaphor because autumn is indirectly compared with a maiden far. Remember student, the metaphor and simile are the same or similar figure of speech poetic devices, which is a small change. That metaphor is indirectly comparison between two things there, whereas simile has a direct comparison. So this is the sentence. Then second one is simile. Birds greet her with their cooing glad, like a bracelet's tinkling song. In this sentence, we can see that the sound of cooing birds is directly compared to the tinkling of the bracelets. So that's why here is the simile. The next is, her silken robe is white moonlight. Here in the sentence the metaphor is used, and why the metaphor is used here, her silken robe is indirectly compared to the white moonlight. So that's why here is a use of metaphor. So just see one by one what mean by simile. So firstly we have to see what is simile, what we called as a simile poetic device. So simile, it is a figure of speech which is involves a direct comparison between two unlike things, usually with the words like or as. Yes, of course, the simile is the figure of speech which showing us a direct comparison between two things. In sentence we have seen that there are lots of example of simile here, like that the birds greet her with their queen glad like a bracelet's tinkling song. So this is the example of simile. Here the like word showing us a direct comparison between two things. First one is birds greet with birds greet, which is made like a queen, which is compared to a bracelet's tinkling. Yes, birds has made the sound like coo coo coo, and it is compared with the tinkling of the bracelet or a bangles. So that's why here in the sentence, you can see the sentence where the simile has used in the poem. Birds greet her with their cooing glad like a bracelet's tinkling song. So these two lines showing us the use of simile in the poem. Then in the next we have to see what mean by metaphor. Metaphor, it is a figure of speech that compares two things without using the words like or as. Because this is the indirect comparison, it's the indirect comparison between two things, and so that's why here no, in this poetic devices there is no use of like or as. So that's why here is the use of metaphor, while the words like as and like is not using in the poem's lines. So let's see where the poet used the metaphor in the poem. The autumn comes a maiden far. In this sentence we have seen that there is a use of metaphor. Actually this whole poem is in this whole poem the use of metaphor is showing to us. Also we have seen the more example like that in second example also, the use of metaphor here, that her silken robe is white moonlight. So this is also in direct comparison of moonlight to a silken robe, silken gown of a autumn season. So that's why here is a use of metaphor in this line. So there are two examples of metaphor in this poem. The first one we have seen that the autumn comes a maiden far. Autumn comes like a maiden far. Autumn arise like a young beautiful girl. And second one is her silken robe is white moonlight. So this is the second example of metaphor. Then third device we have to see in the poem, which is alliteration. So firstly student we have to know about alliteration. What mean by alliteration? So alliteration is a repetition of consonant sounds in two or more neighboring words. Actually we all have seeing the example of the alliteration. We all know what mean by alliteration, but more students most of time you all have made a mistake between alliteration and repetition. So difference between alliteration and repetition is that the alliteration is repetition of consonant sounds, which is neighboring word, which of the neighboring words, and student listen. Repetition of consonant sound means alliteration, but for repetition means the repetition of the word. The word is repeated again and again, and that time you can say that there is a use of repetition. So remember the difference between alliteration and repetition is that, so repetition is the repetition of words and alliteration is the repetition of consonant sound of neighboring words. We can see the example here of alliteration in second last line. She seems a slender maid who soon will be a woman grown. So here in this line we can see that the sound of yes, the sound sir is repeated four times, and that's why here is a use of alliterations. So here is a use of alliteration which is made by repetition of s sound, and that's why this is the example of alliteration. Now we have to see the critical appreciation of the poem. uh, Appreciation question will be asked for 5 marks in exam. So the question is given to us for 5 marks, but the bifurcation of this questions marking scheme we have to see first. For the name of the poem or a title of the poem and poet, we will get 1 mark. Then second one is point out the poem's rhyme scheme. For the rhyme scheme, we will get 1 mark. Secondly, For the figure of speech means tone or the poetic devices which are used in the poem, just we have seen. For this purpose we will get 1 mark. And the theme or a central idea which is explained in the deep in the poem, for this purpose you will get 2 marks. And conclude the appreciation of the poem with the message it conveys. You can write why do you like the poem, but you will not get mark for that topic, for that point. But you can write it why you like this poem and all things. Then this is the analysis analyze of the poem. Student, everyone have to write this appreciation in the paragraph format only, because some students are taking all the questions, following all the questions, but they are writing as a point wise. But you are learning the higher level language, and that's why you have to write this in the paragraph format. So how to write this poem, how to write this appreciation of the poem, just see here. I have given here the answer to you, that how can you write the appreciation. You can use your own words for this. I just given you here the example of how to write the critical appreciation of the poem, because this is 5 marks question, and you all will get more marks in this question. So student, let's see. The first point is like that, a poet or a title of the poem. So let's see here. Autumn is a short and beautiful poem by Kalidasa and translated by Professor A. W. Ryder in English. So, if you write like this, you will get 1 mark. Autumn is a short and beautiful poem which is written by Kalidasa and translated it in English by Professor A. W. Ryder. Then second point, we have seen here that the rhyme scheme of the poem. For this rhyme scheme, firstly you have to know what mean by rhyme scheme. I hope that you all have understand. If no, I will explain after it what how to write the rhyme scheme. Just see here. Autumn has been personified, and there are beautiful images of nature in this poem. The rhyme scheme of the poem is A B A B C D C D. The tone of the poem is light. There are figure of speech which are using in this poem is like simile, metaphor, personification, onomatopoeia, as well as alliteration also used in this poem. These are some poetic effects which are used by the poet in the poem. We all have seen the example of poetic devices here. You can write here a sentence of any poetic device, and you can explain here it. The poet has described the beauty of the season autumn by personifying it to a beautiful maiden. The poet says autumn is a maiden fair because it is said to be a slender and graceful. Yes, poet has explained here the autumn is like a beautiful girl, young girl, and it's very beautiful and slim. Also, looks like a very graceful. She is dressed in flowers of grasses. She has wear the flowers grass dress. During night time, she wears a crown of countless stars on her forehead. She has wear a crown on her head at the night time, which is made by the stars. Her robes are the pale white moonlight, which has been set free from cloudy patches. The dress which has wear by the girl by the autumn season, which is made by the silken robe gown, means the gown which is made by a moonlight. And why it shows very clearly, because now we are set from the cloudy patches. Cloudy patches means the clouds which are we can see in the rainy season in the sky. So at the time of September, at the time of Ashwin months, there is a clear cloud, clear sky, and that's why we are set from the cloudy patches. Here the sentence is using by poet. She looks like a slender maid who will soon grow up into a woman. So this is the theme of the poem which we have seen. Now you can write like why I like the poem or not. Yes, I like the poem as it is filled the imaginaries and natural beauty. We also get the moral that we should try to change ourselves as per situation, because of our life becomes how to take it. So you can write like this, the appreciation of the poem. I have given here one more example that how to write the appreciation again. The you can explain here that the poem Autumn is written by Kalidasa in Sanskrit and translated by A.W. Ryder. The rhyme scheme of the poem is ABCD format. The poet has used various figure of speech in the poem to beautify the poem, like alliteration, simile. The prime figure of speech is metaphor. Now here I have given the example of figure of speech. In first example of appreciation, I have not explained the figure of speech. I just write what the figure of speech are using or the poetic devices are using in the poem. But here in the second example, I have given you here that how can you explain the figure of speech also for 1 mark, that what figure of speech you are using in the poem. The prime figure of speech is metaphor. For example, we can give here a one line which is metaphor in the poem, like that the autumn comes a maiden fair. In this example, autumn season is indirectly compared with the young girls, and due to that indirectly comparison, there is a use of metaphor. So this is the figure of speech of the poem, prime figure of speech of the poem. Next, we have to see the theme. The theme of the poem is the poet's beautiful description of the advent of the autumn season. Two graceful maiden who has beautified herself in many ways. So this is the theme in two sentences which I have explained, that the autumn season is like a graceful lady, graceful woman, ma- maiden who has beautified herself in many ways. So this is all the appreciation of the poem which we have seen. Now if you want to ask some rhyme schemes question, I will explain here within a minute. Wait for a while. Yes, uh, this is the poem stanza. For first stanza we have to see that the uh, for rhyme scheme we have to focus on rhyming words of the poem. Here in the rhyme, here in the first stanza we have seen that fear, here are the rhyming words, as well as grace, face, then clad, glad, along, and song. So these are some rhyming pairs of the poem for first stanza. So if we give the for the rhyme scheme, we have to use A to Z small letters. Mostly rhyme scheme is particular for a one stanza, mostly used for a one stanza. So we have seen stanza wise. First stanza, if you write the A in front of fear, A is written for fear, then the same sound here we have used, where here we can see here. So that's why we have given here A to fear, and here then grace and face are the same sound words, means rhyming words. So that's why we are right here BB. So here fear, grass, here face. If we observe these four lines, you can see that the rhyme scheme of the these four lines is like that, AB AB, because the same sound is repeated after one line. So that's why the rhyme scheme of this poem is AB AB CD CD. Understand? Now we have to see some questions of English workshop in 5 minutes. Just overlook these questions. What changes do you have seen in the nature? Each following season, describe the season appropriately. We have seen in the warming up question, so I think there is no need to explain here again. So summer, the sun shines brighter. In winter, migratory of birds. Then monsoon, there are a lots of changes which is in monsoon. New grass sprout, tender leaf sprout. Then we have seen, I think, in the warming up questions. Now we have to see the marginal question of the poem. Why is autumn called a maiden fair? So student, why the poet called autumn season like a maiden fair, a beautiful girl? So let's see the answer of this question. Autumn is called a maiden fair because she is slender and graceful. She has beautiful herself by having rice stems in her hair and lilies in her face. She is dressed in a flowers grass, and it looks like all this picture is looks like a maiden fair, a beautiful girl. So that's why the autumn season has called like a maiden fair. The second question is, what is the cooing birds compared to? The words sound which compared to a tinkling of the bracelet song. So the cooing of birds is compared to the tinkling song of the bracelet. Third question is, how does autumn dress up at night? Autumn wears a tinkling crown made by countless stars at night. Her robe of silk is white moonlight, sea free from cloudy patches. Yes, the autumn dress up at night. And what is the dress of autumn season at the night time? The autumn wear tinkling crown, and also the dress, the silk gown which is wear by the autumn season, and it's of a white moonlight, the beam of moonlight, and that's why it looks like very beautiful. The last question is, find three lines each that contain image of nature in the autumn season during daytime and during the night time. So what are the pictures at during daytime? Just see here, with nodding rice steam in her hair, then and lilies in her face, in flowers of grasses she is clad. She has wear the grasses dress. So this is three things during daytime we have seen in the poem. Now we have to see the content image of the night time which is used by the poet in the poem. First one, a diadem adorns at night of multitudinous stars. The crown which is which has wear by the autumn at the night time, and which is decorated by a multitudinous stars. Second one, her silken robe is white moonlight. The gown she has weared, which has beautifying the white moonlight. The third one is adorn her face with a radiant moonlight. The face is become very bright because of the brightness of the moon. So these are the things we have seen in the poem, the images we have seen in the poem. The second question is describing words with another word or phrase of the same meaning. The autumn, stars, moon, moonlight, and cooing of the birds. So poetic devices, or we have to write here in our own words that the autumn is about like a maiden fair. And what mean by maiden fair in our words? Maiden fair means a beautiful maiden, a beautiful girl or a woman. Then stars. Stars are multitudinous. The poetic word is used here for the this stars is multitudinous. We can call it like a numerous, unnumerous, countable, countless, or uncountable. Then moonlight. For the moonlight here, white. We can use here silvery word in our own words. Then cooing of a birds. Cooing of a birds is compared to a bracelets of tinkling, and we can call it a melodious music or a musical sound. The next question, find an example of each of the following from the poem. Simile. The use of simile in the poem, we have seen the line like a bracelet sound. Second one is metaphor. The autumn comes a fair maiden. This is the use of metaphor in the poem. We have seen more example of metaphor in the poem. In the next we have seen that her silken robe is white moonlight. So this is also example of metaphor. You can write any example. Then fourth question is, what's the rhyme scheme of the poem? The rhyme scheme of the poem for a particular stanza, we can say it like that. The rhyme scheme of the poem is A B A B C D C D E F E F G H G H. Remember student, while you are writing the rhyming scheme, you just have to use small letters. Don't use the capital letters for the rhyme scheme. Okay. The last question is, think and write in your own words that why is the maiden autumn said to wear rice stems in her seasons? Her years. Autumn is season of harvest. Hence, the maiden autumn is said to wear the rice stems in her hair. Second one, how can the tender maiden autumn become a full gown grown woman? What changes in the nature does it this imply? So this is most important question. The tender maiden autumn in her youth is beautiful, happy, and energetic. As the tender maiden groans, she changes into a full gown grown woman. This implies to change the weather as autumn changes into winter season. Then why do you think birds greet the autumn seasons gladly? Autumn season brings with itself vibrant colors and ripe fruits, berries and nuts covers the trees which attracts the birds, and that's why the birds, this could be reason for the birds to greet the autumn season gladly. So I hope that you all students can understand the English workshop as well as the all poems description, also the appreciation of the poem you all have understand. If you have a doubt you can ask me, otherwise I have to finish it. Ma'am, I have completed.